So hi, this is my gym class summit video, which will be a reflection on what we've done throughout this year. I'll be focusing on two major accomplishments that we as a class and individually have accomplished. We began this year with an introduction on what we'd be focusing on, and that was coaching. By the end of the year, our goal was to receive the NCCP certification that would help us towards the success of our summative, which was leading a class or coaching a class for one period. Throughout all the reporting periods, we focused on many different aspects of coaching and certain skills that would help us coach by the time our summative came around. We were taught lessons by the NCCP that was required to eventually receive this certification. And by the end of the year, we were able to take the skills from the lessons and put them into play once the summative came around. Throughout this reflection, I'll be touching on both the NCCP certification and how that process was, and the coaching assignment. So the NCCP certification was able to strengthen my ability to lead. I was able to learn a lot about myself as a leader and how I can improve on the things that I may be struggling with to become a better leader. We were taught many crucial skills that eventually helped us in the long run for our summative. For example, last year we were taught the 4 components of a successful skill, which are preparation, force production, critical incident, and follow-through. And this year we revisited that, and instead of us learning the components, we learned how we can teach a certain skill with these components. This really helped in our summative when we were teaching tennis, because I was able to go through each step with the preparation, the force production, the critical instant, and the follow through, and I really think that helped improve some of the kids' forehand hits. The summative placement was one of the very first times I've been able to coach a class like this. I had one previous coaching experience in JOL a couple months back, and I was really able to compare that experience with this summative experience and see how I've improved since then. And I think the skills that the NCCP has taught me was able to improve my leadership in the summative role. And Chloe, Anita, and I were given the responsibility to lead a tennis lesson in one of Miss Krillman's grade 8 classes. Our focus for the lesson was to teach the forehand hit. Anita spoke briefly about the qualities you need for a successful forehand hit, and then, like I said earlier, I was able to go through the 4 components: preparation, force production, critical incident, and follow through, and the reasons why each step is important. And since grade 8 can be very chatty, I instantly learned to be louder and more confident when giving instructions, so they were able to focus and be more engaged. I learned what type of leader I was, and with this specific experience, I was able to learn what components in my leadership were strong and what were weak, and how I was able to improve it to become a better leader in the future. So the things that I've learned from the NCCP, I will definitely be using in my future. I've mentioned that I was able to learn about myself as a leader and things that I wanted to improve on to become a better one. The placement for the summative, I was able to put all the things that I learned into play, and this was the biggest part because we were learning all the skills in class, but once we were able to go out and actually coach, all the things we learned were put to test, and that really showed how much we knew and how much we learned this year. And I know that I was able to learn what was successful and what was not, so in the future I'll be able to have a more successful coaching placement. If I was going to get involved with coaching a sport in the future, it would definitely be basketball, since I have a strong passion for it. But when you have a strong passion for something, it often is easier to share your knowledge because you're able to be confident in what you're telling these kids and confident in the information that you're sharing to help them improve. I believe I have a strong basic skills when it comes to playing basketball, so being able to share that through coaching would almost come natural. With the help of the NCCP certification, I believe that it would help my instructions become clearer and coming up with the breakdown of a certain skill through preparation phase, the force production phase, the critical instant, and the follow through. In relation to coaching, I would have liked to learn more about the strategies to keep all the group participating at the same time, rather than just standing around while others are trying to figure out the skill. This wasn't a huge issue, but I think knowing some strategies to help keep the whole group motivated and moving around, even though sometimes you have to spend a little bit more time explaining something to one individual. Motivating is also something that was hard to keep, so learning certain activities or strategies to keep the motivation higher. In every leadership opportunity, you face many challenges constantly. So in this placement, there were definitely some challenges that we had to overcome. The first was to keep the attention of these grades. Since they're still young and have short attention spans, it was often hard because they were either daydreaming or they were talking to someone next to them. But we overcame this by raising our voice and explaining instructions to make it sound interesting and enthusiastic, so we kept their attention span. The day our placement took place, it was also ridiculously hot outside and humid, so the energy level was instantly a little bit lower than normal, which was completely understandable. We were able to have multiple water breaks, which kept the energy up. The motivation was also kept up because of the competitiveness that was happening within the King Court game, which is awesome. I was also constantly walking around to encourage them and provide them tennis balls to keep the game pace. The largest struggle was my ability to play tennis, which is definitely subpar. I originally was going to be coaching soccer with Caitlin, which I felt more comfortable with, but with the scheduling issue, I was moved to tennis, which created some worries since it's not a sport that I often like to focus on. Teaching a sport to two girls, where at least 8 of them were definitely better than me, was slightly a challenge, but since I knew the correct form of a forehand and definitely had a lot of encouragement throughout the day, I was able to go around and overcome these issues. My favorite thing about the certification was the material it was able to teach me for the future. Now I will have a basic knowledge about how to coach properly, and I think that will definitely help me in the future, so I'm looking forward to that. Which, as stated earlier, has taught me a lot about myself and who I am as a leader, so I think that will also help me in SOL next year and in other future leadership positions. It will make me more confident. My favorite part of the placement was seeing the kids getting very into the game, and though it was a very warm day, that did not stop the girls from getting competitive and finding the motivation to win around, so I think that was awesome, being able to see them have fun and improving as the period went on. So this is my gym summative reflection. Thank you.